Hey everybody, Aaron Cowan, Sage Dynamics. In this video, we're going to talk about low power variable magnification optic backup sights. Essentially what we're talking about is some kind of 45 or 35 even degree off-axis backup optic or backup iron sights for a rifle that's got like a 1:6 or 1:80 or maybe even a 2:10. My personal feeling is any variable power optic, really any optic on a rifle that could be reasonably used for multi-purpose, should have some kind of backup sighting system. Not only in the event that the main optic goes down, but also to give you a few more options and a little bit more versatility when it comes to engaging targets at different distances rapidly. I wanted to do a video on this because it actually received quite a few comments and questions recently on social media, and this is the other side of Dunning-Kruger is when I know something, I just assume everyone else knows the same thing. I got to remember that not everybody's at the same level of education or the same level of equipment or the same level of experience when it comes to using a rifle. So this particular rifle's got a Vortex 1:6 on it, and it also has a Holosun 508T and a 45-degree Arisaka offset mount. What this allows me to do is use my red dot for closer distances and use my variable magnification optic for longer distances. I prefer this setup for versatility's sake. I can leave my 1:6 on 6 power, and then I have the ability to rapidly transition between two magnifications without having to make any manipulations to the optic itself. Now I've got a quick throw lever here, and that's great, but the other side of the coin is, in the unlikely event, but very possible but unlikely event, if my optic goes down for whatever reason, maybe it just fogs up, not even breakage, I can quickly rotate the rifle, pick up the optic on the 45, and then do whatever it is I have to do. And hopefully it's just a training situation and not a real-world situation where that happens. But this gives me options. Just think about like your traditional RDS rifle. Most people get a little weird when they see a rifle that has a red dot sighting system on it, no matter how good a quality it is. And someone has taken the backup iron sights off it. People get really weird about that, even though, you know, we're 20, really 30 years into this, but even within the last decade, the durability and the battery life of a lot of the red dots that are out there, you hear about people who have a high quality optic fail because it doesn't happen that often. Because when it does happen, it's like, whoa, okay, let's talk about this. And then some people think that a sample size of 1 means the end of the world for everyone else. So they want to throw 19 different sighting systems in their rifle just in case. This isn't necessarily the case for this, but it is nice to have versatility and options. Now, there is a particular fact of ballistics that you have to account for when you're using a 35 or a 45 degree off-axis optic or even iron sights. I did a video specifically on this years ago, but no need to go dig into the channel. When we're zeroing our off-axis iron sights or zeroing our off-axis red dot, we have to account for that rotation of the gun. You can't just put it in a traditional horizontal positioning like 12 o'clock and then kind of tilt your head and zero. That there is going to be a point of aim, point of impact deviation, if you will. And that deviation is consistent, and it's something you can account for. And a cool way to experiment with this is take whatever your optic is now, take it to the range, pick a distance, fire a 5-round group, put a 45-degree cant on the rifle, fire another 5-round group, put a 90-degree cant on the rifle, fire another 5-round group, and you're going to notice those groups are moving. Generally, they go in the direction that the optic is rotated and low. Of course, depending on the distance you shoot, it's going to dictate whether that's low or high based on the zero. A lot of complicated factoids that get involved in that just based on ballistics, zero distance ammunition, things like that. But the general rule of thumb is you're going to shoot not where you want to hit, unless the optic is zeroed to be fired in that position. So for 45-degree off-axis or 35-degree off-axis, you know, scope mounted, whatever the degree is, I'm going to set the gun up to where it's 12 o'clock for zeroing position. Usually what I'll use is a rifle rest, but if you want to get real technical about it, you can get a 45-degree offset piece of Picatinny, put it on the other side, the opposite side of the gun, put a bipod on it, zero it that way. A lot more arduous, a lot more involved, but it gives you a more precise zero because you know that the bipod is mounted 45-degree opposite. Gets a little silly, but it gives you, if you're super OCD about your zeros, that's going to make sure your off-axis iron sights or your off-axis optic are zeroed correctly. Another super sweet feature of 45-degree off-axis iron, let's just say off-axis red dot sights just for simplification, but you may be talking about iron sights, is the fact that it lets you get the rifle lower in the prone position. So if I'm shooting under cover, I'm shooting under a vehicle, shooting even under an SUV, or even worse, a car, depending on how far away my target is. If I've got a 30-round mag, it's very hard to get under even most standard height SUVs or crossovers. VTAC barriers they are what they are, but there aren't too many objects in life that are going to replicate what that barrier is replicating as far as that underexposure that you generally see. But if you have to shoot underneath something that low, having 45-degree off-axis optics available to you allows you to rotate the rifle to the side, get it nice and low, and not have to account for that point of aim, point of impact variance if you were to do the same thing using your traditional 12 o'clock mounted optic. My advice when it comes to backup optics for a rifle with a magnified optic is don't get iron sights unless you absolutely have to. If you got to start there, that's great. I still have a few rifles that have the iron sight 45 off-axis 45 iron sights on them. I don't care for them because using iron sights in that somewhat awkward shouldering position, mounting position, can be a little bit problematic. Don't get me wrong, iron sights are fine if they're zeroed correctly. However, the reason we started using red dots and magnified optics is because iron sights are just not the best solution for accuracy. They're there for backup sighting systems if we need them. So save up a little bit of money and get a high quality optic that you can mount off axis. It's got good battery life. The Aimpoint Micros, Aimpoint Acro, battery life's a little bit of an issue there, but it's something that you can manage. My personal feeling these days is a Trijicon RMR or Hollow Sun 507 or 508C or 508T, 508T, 507C, even the 407 would be a good choice. Those optics have proven to be durable. They can definitely handle the abuse of being off-axis mounted. And there's a lot of good, inexpensive off-axis mounts out there that have specific MRDS footprints. Arisaka makes quite a few. They just came out with a new one recently. The one I had on that rifle that I just showed you earlier is like, I think just under 50 bucks with the RMR footprint. So it wasn't too expensive to give me that option. If you got to run iron sights for a while, that's fine. Definitely work in your practice, and that's something good to do. But if you're serious about maintaining an off-axis sighting system, I should say, on your rifle, red dot should definitely be the way to go as soon as you can do it. I'm Eric Allen with Sage Dynamics. Train accordingly.